Okay, so originally I was going to have this as like a two-piece review, as in a Bioshock the Collection review, where it's going to be like two games in one, but it actually ran very long, so I thought I'd just break them up into two separate videos. So I'll have one next week out, and I'll have one this week out. I hope you enjoy them, but for now let's get on to the Persona series. So, between you and me, this is a review of Persona 5 for the most part, for a reason. As much as I love people that love Atlus and their games, and I love Atlus themselves, you know, but they gave me, and along with every other reviewer, a very scary warning. I'll leave it up on the screen so you can decide what you want to do with it, but for now, I'm going to read some of the quotes to summarize the bits. This being a Japanese title with a single playthrough story means that our masters in Japan are very wary about it. Sharing is currently blocked through the native PS4 UI. However, if you plan on streaming, video guidelines above apply except length. If you decide to stream past 7th of the 7th, I highly recommend not doing this. You have been warned. You do so at being risked a content ID claim, or worse, a channel strike / account suspension. This is a heavy warning. And that's a threat. Like, I don't take threats lightly, but I can't talk about this because I've already got so many people on my ass with copyright claims, I just can't. And I don't have a copyright strike, I just have a lot of claims. So I'm concerned. So I'll play by your games for now, Atlus, but, you know, one day I'm gonna get you. Currently, I've played past, like, you know, the 7th of the 7th, and I can tell you beforehand, nothing happens on that day specifically. Nothing special. And there are some interesting plot points past it, but I won't go into that because it's spoilery, obviously. But first, I don't think it's really worth hiding, in my personal opinion. I don't own the game technically. Like, I do. I own the physical copy, but Atlus owns the game, so I can't say whether or not they should do that or not. And I can't actually, you know, change their minds. I'm only one person, and I'm a small-time YouTuber, you know. So, but Atlus, could you make it any harder for me to do the review? Thanks. I'd love that. I'd love you made it a lot harder for me. Anyway, they also tell me I have to be very vague. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to be vague. So without further ado, let's go on to the review. Oh, and spoilers up ahead up until the first boss. I won't really go past that, really. So you've been warned. So the Persona series is a special case in video games. Much like the Breath of the Wild, this is possibly the best in the series so far, but the Persona series, unlike other games, has gotten nothing but better every time it comes out. Every time a new one comes out, it always gets better. This one is done in the Catherine engine. If you've played that game, that's actually an interesting game I'd recommend playing as well. But this game in particular does do a lot of that the other games in its series do. While it doesn't break away from typical conventions, it does make some of the best elements of previous games and takes them and cautiously alters the formula while remaining ultimately the same. For example, I'll give you a summary of the story, right? You're gonna say this is gonna sound very familiar. Something unknown happens at first that causes you to be sent away to an unknown city or town. You play the suave yet still learning, glasses-wearing protagonist who struggles at first to fit in until he finds a goofy yet obnoxious friend who accidentally travels with him into another world. Together they hear of deaths being committed and try to save the day using the other world. Sound familiar? If you've played Persona 4, it probably does. But all that aside, this is a game on its own. It's not an exact replica, but there are a lot of similarities, if you get what I mean. This game takes a far darker route, though. I've never seen a Persona series take this, at least not since Persona 3, and it isn't exactly just the child of Persona 2, 3, and 4 collectively having a gangbanging, seeing who would come out. It's its own thing as well, but it is sort of that, if you get what I mean. The protagonist, Yu Narukami 2.0, or Akira as most people probably know him, is sent to live with a man he's never met before, Sojiro Sakura, for having a criminal record for a crime he didn't commit. But since he has a criminal record, that doesn't matter to anybody else, because they just want to send him off so they don't have to associate with him, even his parents. It also turns out people in the city really don't like people with criminal records, so for the most part of the game you're being treated like absolute shit by everyone around you. And it's so cruel. He doesn't deserve it, to be honest. He's a nice guy. But, you know, this doesn't really change until past the 7th of the 7th, so I'm not legally allowed to talk about it. Thanks, Atlus. Eventually, you know, you meet up with some new friends and some old ones, like, you know, you got Igor, and that's about it. And together you do what every Persona game does best. Fight off a ton of famous and not so famous mythological Shin Megami Tensei enemies until you save the day. Of course, you still do the regular everyday stuff like a Persona game, like, you know, you talk to your friends, go to sleep, you earn social links, go to sleep, you read, you go to sleep, you study and learn useless facts by googling the answers for the teacher so you get the right one for gaining the Persona skill, and then you go to fucking sleep. I get it, Morgana, I get it, you want me to go to sleep? I get it, you want me to go to sleep? Why can't I go outside and explore? Why? I don't know. But look, this game is a little more linear than previous installments, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it is a big peeve of mine that the only thing stopping me from exploring is someone's DeviantArt Persona OC. Don't steal, by the way. The format for dungeons has changed up this time around too. Starting with the name, they're now called palaces. And not only that, you can't just waltz in anymore like you're the belle of the fucking ball looking for a Prince Charming shadow to deny and eventually accept themselves with, you know, person. Oh no. These bad boys take people by force. And I mean that, like, they change their hearts by taking their hearts. And I won't go into how that's exactly done, but these guys are thieves, they can't get in the front door, and they will deal with everything, like, you know, in such a sneaky way, and it's so cool. And to be honest, it's pretty fucking hardcore. Like, especially the music with the last time you go into the palace is fucking sick. And someone has to be pretty bad to have it done to them. You see, you can't have a palace without being really bad. I won't go into... You can change smaller people later on, but I won't go into that fully. But here's like the first person, for example. Minor spoiler warning, by the way. The first guy is like a very abusive and pervy, sexually harassing teacher who completely deserves his heart being changed. And it only gets worse from there. And I mean that. It only gets worse. But going back on track, like, you have to come to a lot of places and a lot of palaces, more than once. And I don't say that just because of the difficulty. Sometimes it's mandatory, and other times there'll be something like an impassable object where you have to go back to the real world to deal with that before you can actually continue, which hinders exploration but not the experience. The enemies, as I mentioned before, are a little notorious. You know, I know in Persona 4 it was a breeze compared to this, and it brings it sort of back to Persona 3 difficulty, but with the added pain of Persona 2 elements. So it's not a bad combat system, but it's not fantastic either. I like it. I think it's familiar, but it's its own thing. Shadows, much like they used to be in Persona 2, actually represent individuals now and will beg for forgiveness and ask you not to kill them in exchange for money, items, or joining you or whatever. It's actually pretty fucking weird when you're like actually thinking about killing somebody. It's kind of weird. But you're not really killing somebody, I suppose, you're just killing their cognition. But it's also a bit of a stretch to grind now, which I'm not really happy about, but you know, it can be fixed by doing certain S-links. Which actually is something I should point out. Now, unlike the other games, you actually get fantastic tactical advantages from the cognitive world against Shadows whenever you increase your S-Link, or you get these special abilities like being able to get more money, or getting more experience, or your team earns more experience and it takes away from less experience you're earning, or you're able to fuse better Shadows, or Personas, I should say. But this time around, it's not known as the cognitive world. I think it's known as the metaverse. All three options, though, you know, the money, the items, and the persona, have risks that get bigger and bigger as the game progresses. And gaining personas took some time to get used to, but like, you know, I've been playing the game for about 100 hours now, so I can safely say that it's not so hard once you get used to it. And the personalities of the personas can sometimes be a bit hard to grasp, but once you do, like, you know, it's fine. Overall, I'd recommend the game based on the experience of it, and it just really being a good game. And like all of the Persona games, I'd say, like, you know, this is probably one of the best possible. and I mean this in the best way possible when I say this. It's a really, really good time waster game. And take that as you will, but to me that's a compliment. I consider most RPGs in the time waster category, but not in a bad way. I mean it as in they're long. They keep your attention, and you could be grinding for hours, just wasting time. That's what I mean by that. And just because you're enjoying it so much, like, you know, you don't notice the time going away. But anyway, to summarize, this game is fantastic, but a darker story than most. Familiar enough combat that you're not left scratching your head wondering what to do. Far more linear than other Personas, but also keeps your attention the whole way throughout, and you keep wanting to come back for more. I can safely say I'm going to be platinuming this game in the coming months, because this is a long game and it's going to take me a while to finish. I've been playing almost 100 hours and I'm pretty sure I'm not halfway through the game. But, you know, it pains me to say that a lot of the problems of this game get resolved, but since I'm not allowed to talk about the game past the 7th of the 7th, I have to leave it for now at an 8 out of 10. But I would give this a must-buy recommendation, at least if you have a PS4 or a PS3. I wouldn't say go out and buy the console for it, but if you have the console, go get these games. But real talk, Atlus, honey, sweetie, your game is a 9 out of 10 easily, but I can't talk about why that is thanks to your threats. I won't risk my channel, as small as it is, for a review, even if I really want to. I've already got Nintendo up in arms and up my ass about the Zelda series that I'm making, and the review that I made, and I don't need you on my dick too. Next week, I'm going to be talking about a game from one of your associated companies, Square Enix. A very hit-or-miss company with some great RPGs that released a few single-player open-world RPGs only this year, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Final Fantasy 15 came out last year, I can't remember. They're gonna let me review the shit out of their games without any problems. You need to learn to get with the times. Your game is placed perfectly in the modern day, so why aren't you? Lift the threat, guys, please. I love you. Peace. But that's going to do it for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I've tried to up the formula a little bit. I'm trying to make myself a little bit more confident. I know it's hard for me, but, you know, I'm doing my best, and I just want you guys to enjoy these videos. So if you do, I would really, really appreciate it if you would leave a like, or maybe subscribe. I'm a very small channel, and I always want to be growing, and you guys are helping me do that. And thank you to those who watch me now every single day, or those of you who see my reviews and say, yeah, I'm going to watch these. Because I enjoy making my reviews. I enjoy making them much more than I make my gameplay videos. I do make my gameplay videos and enjoy them, but it's like my reviews take so much more out of me, and it's in a good way. So I just love making them. So that's why I'm making the Nier review next. I haven't gotten a chance to play the game at this point, so I'm going to be playing the game non-stop for the next week. Going to get as far as I can. I want to try and complete the game before I do the review, but if I can't, I won't. The review should be coming out on either the Friday or the Wednesday of next week, depending on how much time it takes me to beat the game, or how much time I feel like, you know, I need to put into the game before I'm like at a safe point where I can say, okay, I can review this game. But anyway, guys, I will see you in the next review. Check out some other reviews here. I'll have some end card things up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.